Hello. Hello. Welcome.
Hello.
Hello. Welcome. I'm Katey Sagal, and my partner is
Me.
That's right.
Kurt Sutter.
And we are welcoming you to Pie.
Pie.
People, influences, and experiences.
That's absolutely correct.
Right.
And we also eat pie.
And we eat pie in our segment. And we have a very interesting guest today who we do. I mean, one of our hooks is we don't do a lot of research. So I can't wait to dig into this dude because on his podcast, he dug into me.
Here's what I will. Here's how I want to intro this though, because I saw his special, 3 Mics, and
I think you just gave it away.
No. But I was fascinated by it, and then I watched something else, and I was amazed at the level of not just how funny he was, but more about the level of vulnerability. And I realized this is a motherfucker not telling jokes. This is somebody working shit out. And I just loved that. And I turned you on to him.
Yep, right.
And I reached out on Instagram and said, "Love you, man." and then you came by and gave us a visit. And it is
Neal Brennan.
Yeah. Everybody knew from the thumbnail. No surprises.
Hi, Neal.
Hi. Nice to see you.
Nice
Thanks for
to
having
see
me.
you.
Thanks for first time, long time.
I know.
Nice. It's great to be here. My second time in your lovely home.
You weren't in this room, though, I don't think.
No, I saw it. I wasn't allowed in. I was allowed to look through the glass, but I earned my way in. So
this is the red room.
Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. So what we do here is we start at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
So, and we're going to ask you some questions about the beginning of your life.
Great.
Rather than just sort of.
And we really
where you are
do no research whatsoever.
Yeah. So
Fine. Yeah, but there is some of it was in the Netflix's. When I was working things out. Some of it's about.
Yeah, there is some history there. There's some broad strokes where you go, wonder what happened there.
Yeah.
But happy to. I'm happy to. You know what's funny when you talk about this person's being very vulnerable. I feel like that's I don't want to say diminishing. I feel like there's been an arms race in the last 10 to 15 years of who can reveal the most. And a part of me feels a bit, I'm not one of these people who's like, don't share anything or whatever, but I wonder, I kind of feel like people don't share anything publicly unless they think it's going to advantage them in some way.
Well, but don't you think it's a fine line between, I think what we laugh at is what we see in ourselves, right?
Absolutely. I'm not talking about the jokes part. I'm talking about like the sort of more vulnerable
But even
parts.
the more vulnerable parts.
Yeah.
I think
vulnerability isn't just the reveal. It's also the emotionality, the state of mind, the tone. You know, it's not.
It's the delivery.
But I hear what you're saying, that it has become a bit of a hook, if you will, and I get that, but I do, I'm pretty cognizant of that when I see people.
Where it's for,
you know what I mean?
But
when I say work,
advantage.
like to me, at least some significant pieces of what you do or what I've seen are things where you are.
I'm telling on
Figuring it
myself.
out.
There are times where I'm telling on myself. Like I specifically tried to make, because I didn't want to just be like preening or looking at my, image in the pond. Kurt, do you feel vulnerable with writing, or does it feel like you're a few layers removed?
Yeah,
from,
it's a different level.
That's a character.
Well, you have the personas that you can hide behind, but I'm always, and a lot of times I don't realize it till after the fact, of like, oh, that's where I was working out that piece of whatever.
Yeah.
And So there's a vulnerability in that if for me anyhow, where it probably means too much to me. Do you know what I mean? But
Wait, let me get this straight. Your work means too much to you?
meaning
That's not the feeling I've gotten from the press. You take it extremely seriously?
no, I'm meaning that I just perhaps own it too deeply. Do you know what I mean? So
It's very invested.
it's hard for me.
I have the same question.
Yeah.
It's coming your way too.
Yeah.
So get ready. Stop listening and prepare your answer. Do you
Tables
feel like,
turned.
even when you're writing, are there times where you genuinely don't know it's about you?
To the level, to the degree that it is, yes. Like I'll go back, and a lot of times it's big arc. I'll look at something a season or 2 seasons and going, oh, that's some daddy shit.
Right.
Playing out. You know what I mean? But it doesn't, if I don't feel something by the time I'm done writing whatever scene or script, something's wrong, you know? So, but it's much more direct in what you do.
Yeah, I know. That's why I was asking. Like, does it feel like, do you ever write something like, oh boy, I can't believe, is it when you turn it in, if you're sheepish, is it because you feel like vulnerable, or it's the general writing thing of like, I hope people think this is good?
Are they going to buy
A
it?
little both. Some of it is, am I a fraud? Am I worthy? Am I okay? And then some of it is,
No, I don't think it. Can I just weigh in?
sure.
I don't find it when I've been with you and you're turning something in. I've never heard you say, "Oh my God, I've told too much about myself."
No.
It's never about that. And I agree with you that I think it's sort of at the end of the process where as somebody who's telling a story, then you kind of put the pieces together of, oh, that is something that's about me and my kid, or that's something that,
But when you say that you felt, there's the arms raised to vulnerability, how do you check yourself in that process? Like, how do you stay true and then go, am I crossing a line? Am I exploiting myself? Like, do you?
With Three Mics, Three Mics and Blocks were the 2 emo ones, and then the one that came out in April, Crazy Good, was just glib.
Fun.
Yeah, just glib enjoyment. Glib is I'm being reductive. It's just fun.
Yeah.
So
it was
with Three Mics, the whole stuff about my dad was like intended to be revenge on my dad, and then I was like, I don't really think I want to get revenge. Like, it just not.
you're grown up.
Yeah, it just seemed like an indecent thing to do, even though there are people in my family that think the way I did it was still indecent. So like, talking about any personal relationship is not. Some people just don't.
Yeah.
It's not Midwestern.
Mm-hmm.
So
Or Canadian.
Yeah. Yes. Exactly. So I just tried to make it like, well, what am I? I actually had a moment of like, what do I owe him? Like, I put that in the show because it was like, what am I getting at? And it ended up being. I liked where it ended up, where it wasn't. And then the stuff about like being a starfucker or being depressed or whatever, that was more just like, hey, this is what I'm like. Here's kind of why I think I'm like this.
Right.
So it was not, I didn't feel like but it was based on like Tig Notaro saying she had cancer on stage. I just found it like riveting.
Mm-hmm.
Bill Burr did a Moth episode one time where he cried like 15, 20 years ago. He hates it, I think. But it's just like, wow, I've never seen this side of people. These people that one way and then you get to see them a different way.
I think the difference is really like you don't come off as performative. It doesn't feel like a bit or something.
No, yeah, I'm not. It is pretty honest.
Yeah, it's just a guy talking about his stuff. I mean, I'm sure it has, I don't know anything about stand-up comedy except that I think it's the bravest thing of all the art forms.
Yeah.
So I know there has to be structure to
So
what's
do
going
all
on.
comedians feel that. I'm kidding.
I'm sure they must.
We're
It's
very
so
into it.
bold and brave.
We
and-
are warriors.
Oh, unbelievable.
Yeah.
We're the modern poets,
Yeah.
guys. We're the modern philosophers.
Man, I thought that was rap stars.
Let's use the Let's use the
The pie format.
the dad.
Well, I want to
reference
start. I want
to
to.
dive into that.
Okay, great. I'm sorry. I did not mean to
But
interrupt.
now you can follow
This is
up.
sort of the balance in a marriage, just like, not interrupting.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Tell us where you grew up and just a little bit about where home was.
Home. We lived in outside Philadelphia and outside Chicago in like rich suburbs. Wilmette in Chicago and then Villanova in Philadelphia. Rich suburbs, but there were 10 of us.
Wait. Well,
yeah.
you're one of 10?
Yeah, I'm one of 10. I'm the youngest of 10.
Holy shit!
Yeah.
That
So
explains a lot.
So right there.
Holy
Let's go to commercial. Yeah. So yeah, that explains a lot.
Catholic?
I think. I mean, in some ways, it explains. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what it explains, but yeah, one of 10. My father was a alcoholic and a narcissist. He didn't realize he was a narcissist until we'd all moved out, and then he went to a psychiatrist and took the test. And
Passed.
I'm not even kidding. Called us all gleefully to let us know that he was a narcissist. The only time he called us
Wow.
individually, like, "Hey,
He
everyone."
was proud of it.
He did a press tour.
Yeah, I
On
scored.
his
I scored
narcissism.
100.
I mean, the glee in his voice was you could hear it.
What did he? I love that. I thought you were going to say and was a doctor, and
No,
then
he
you
was
went right into it was
Yeah,
an
no, exactly.
alcoholic and a
Yeah,
narcissist
yeah.
professionally.
Yeah, he was a tax lawyer. So
Wow. Was he a sober alcoholic or never got
no,
sober?
he wasn't like a hard. He never drank a ton, but he drank 3 or 4 a day. Between 6 and 8 or whatever, 6
Right.
and 9, and
Functioning.
And he said he would do it for. You think I'm making this up? His hero was James Cagney in Public Enemy.
Wow. So he was
Wanted to be a
Tough guy.
whippersnapper tough guy. That was what he was going for. So that's why he would drink.
Well, here's my question. I have
We all have our reasons. His was a Public Enemy.
I have a
original.
sister-in-law who's one of 12. So being one of 10 and the baby, was it your experience that some of your siblings were raising you, which seems to be what happens when you're
last in the because
pack?
my dad was, didn't like being a dad and
Wow, that's a lot of dislike,
I know.
man.
I know.
Geez, wow,
Let's
crazy.
try maybe this one. And he just didn't like. Yeah, none of us. No, still no.
What about mom?
Mom liked it and was good at it, but it's a lot of kids.
10, yeah.
It's you're running a
That is
very busy
wild.
factory. So
How did you go to rest? Did you go out to eat as a family?
occasionally there's a story in the family that there was a restaurant, like an all-you-can-eat restaurant, one price for the family, and my dad came in and he's like, "I'll pay you extra," and the guy was like, "No, the deal's the deal." So we would go out. We didn't go out much.
Because I know my sister-in-law tells a story of them all piling into a limo. They'd have to have a huge ass car to get all.
We had a station wagon, so yeah,
and you all
similar.
crammed in there.
Midwestern limo.
Oh man!
yeah.
So you're the baby. You're the prince.
I'm the baby. I think the advantage of being the youngest is you get to see what sort of people can become or do become, or you observe patterns,
Right.
and so there was that, and then all of them were very nice and generous to me with their time, and I got access to things that I wouldn't have otherwise, their jobs and whatever.
See, my experience of the baby is they're usually they are one of two things: the neglected one, they're like the afterthought, or they are definitely the fawned upon. Like the baby is sort of like Simba.
Yeah,
the
I
baby.
think I was probably closer to the second one.
You were Simba.
Yeah, closer to Simba.
How many
and
boys?
6 boys, 4 girls. So yeah, so I was like, I was cute. I was
Aw.
cute, and I liked being cute, and they liked me being cute.
Were you funny?
Yes. Next question. Yeah, I was pretty funny. what I remember pretty soon.
So where'd you go to school? Did you go to
Catholic school for 12 years, and then I went to NYU for a year.
Did you go to like all boys Catholic school, or was
No,
it
it was co-ed. It had been all boys, and then they co-eded it a few years earlier. And
Got it.
I was like a late bloomer, so I was very small till I don't know. I didn't grow a beard till pretty recently. Just I was a little guy.
I was just going to ask how you felt your environment.
Here, everybody would compare me to David Faustino.
Oh, really?
The same period of time. He's like the little guy, and they go like, "You're like," so they'd give me a ride to high school and be like, "You're like the kid from Married with Children." I was like, "Do you guys know that lady?"
Wow.
I like that lady. So yeah, so that was like, I was kind of like a wise ass.
Got it. Well,
little
you
guy.
so sort of, would you say the angry short little guy syndrome?
No, I didn't really know it. I didn't care. I was friends with everybody. So it was,
You could get into every group.
yes.
Like,
Yes.
right.
Yeah. Now,
I understand
that's a lot of that is family dynamic too. Everybody knows your brother, knows your sister.
Yes, there's
the friend,
that.
The brother of the.
Yes. And I just was like funny, so I could,
Right.
and like the kids I went to grade school with became the jocks,
Right.
became the jocks, then became like the smart ones. And
So many people in our industry, I find, have that chameleon quality where they can kind of morph into whatever group.
no personal standards whatsoever.
Exactly. I used to call myself spineless because I could
So
hang sort of not intensely, but with all different groups. But I do
Yeah.
think that it feeds into what we do later in life.
It's a form of people pleasing, I think.
Well, there's that. We can go there too. Yes.
And relations, like clearly we understand the relationship with dad or lack thereof. Siblings relationships were pretty solid, and
Yeah, they were, like I said, they
Because
were
that's a lot
really
to
like,
navigate,
they were,
man.
my oldest brother was a caddy on the PGA Tour, so I used to be able to go to those
Ooh.
things. And then another brother worked at the Chicago Stadium, so I used to go to like Bulls games,
Oh.
like when Michael Jordan was like, I saw
Fun.
Michael Jordan get mistaken for somebody else. That's how
That's
long
how
ago
long.
it was. And this is how like somebody said, "Are you Orlando Woolridge?" A
Yeah.
guy who played for the Bulls. Like,
Yeah.
so like I got access to Cubs, all these games. Then my brother was a comedian, so when I was in high school, I used to go to New York and hang out at the Improv and Comedy Cellar.
I didn't
and,
know that.
Like
Wow.
a huge,
When you were how old?
incalculably big. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Benefit. I was 14 through 17.
Oh, wow.
So to see,
Still a comedian?
yeah. To see, I mean, him and David Tell were started together, Ray Romano,
Wow.
like guys that I
Wow.
saw, like, oh wow, you can be a comedian. This is a great.
It was a real
it's-
job.
Yeah, like it was achievable.
Right.
Right.
It wasn't, they weren't making money, but like they were doing it.
So
They
at
all had
that
day jobs,
age,
but-
was that something you aspired to? Like,
Yeah.
I think when I grow up, I want to do this.
Yeah. And it was also when I was maybe in high school, like Spike Lee was doing press for Do the Right Thing. And I was like, film school. And he kept talking about NYU Film School. I was like, film school? What? Huh? And then like Martin Scorsese and all the people who went to NYU. So then I kind of was like, I want to go there. And then I got in somehow.
In the film school.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And then ended up dropping out because I was working at the comedy club.
Ah.
Like when I was at NYU, I PA'd on Louis C.K.'s first short.
Wow.
So like it was like happening, and Louis was just like, he was a great comedian, but he wasn't like
Yeah.
famous or popular.
Right.
That's so great.
Right.
It just
Yeah,
sounds-
it's just I just had access that I
which
wouldn't
is
have had
unusual.
otherwise, which is a
Absolutely.
huge. I don't know if it makes me like a nepo baby. I mean, the idea of a nepo baby, and I told you this. My buddy Roy Wood says if you want to see nepo babies, go to any construction site.
Exactly.
Exactly.
It's like that's how the world works.
So I don't put you in the Nepo baby cat. Well, you did
Well,
have the
it's not
brother.
like he was a superstar that got me like called up,
Right.
Mhm.
and said,
Got you a union
this.
card.
Yeah, exactly.
But was the connection?
Yeah, but I definitely was at NYU and
Right.
went to the comedy club and was like, can I work the door? And did that.
Here's one question. If you could change one thing that happened or didn't happen in your childhood, what is there something that you would change or wouldn't change? And this gets where it's like,
Time
people
travel.
saying I love you. I know when Kurt tells a story that when he grew up, there wasn't a lot of I love yous in the house. I
Yeah.
know when I grew up, I didn't see my parents having a lot of physical attention with each other. And I was stunned as I grew up, that we have so much physical affection in front of our
And because
children.
you're very uncomfortable with it. See, I can say it. You don't lie. I'm kidding.
Is there something that you bumped up against as an adult that you wish like, oh shit, I wish I'd.
That's a good. I mean, I'm thinking. I've been sort of in the last year. I've been trying to live less blamey and less like if only and I should have and all that stuff, and just kind of taking the whole thing as it was. So there's a time where I'm sure I would have had 50 answers for you.
Right.
At this point, I mean, I guess I wish the whole thing was less chaotic.
Oh.
Like it was just chaotic and violent and threat of violence and
Oh, Dad was violent.
yeah.
Yeah.
And less with me than but like
but observing it.
Yeah.
Right.
So I wish there had been less of that generally, because it gets in your body and then you have to do DMT to get rid of it. In my case.
Do you find yourself wanting to because it come from 10, right? So is it like, look at me, give me more attention? Is that a thing that happens when you come from that many brothers and sisters?
The humor.
I feel like the thing in me that writes jokes, I don't think is doing it for attention.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's doing it to like settle a score. It's like to just go like speak truth to power, or to be like, may I fucking say something?
Mm-hmm.
It's like more oppositional. Kurt, I don't know if you can relate. More oppositional than it. The attention. Obviously it's attention seeking, but there are two comedians in the family, which can't be good. But yeah, like it. I see myself more as an introvert, so I don't. It's hard to.
Well,
obviously I'm not, but
how you were just saying where you're at in your life right now, which is a little bit more of like, it sounds like more acceptance rather than revenge.
yeah,
I wonder how that's affecting your comedy.
it's not been good for output. Literally, it hasn't been good for output, but it's not. That's more just accepting of like the way that world was.
Mm-hmm.
The overall, like trying to get out of opposition, which I haven't consciously tried to. I don't think it's automatically a bad place to be, but just taking it for what it was, and like
it's also, I find that kind of your default is, may I say something?
yeah,
And so that, I don't think that goes away. What goes away is the next thought, which is, how do I insert my point of view? So, and so to be in that, to have that awareness of that's my first thought, and I don't want to think that way. So I'm going
that
to
I do want to think. May I say something?
Right.
But I don't. But yeah,
you don't take the action.
And I don't even necessarily not want to take the action. I guess it's more, I'm trying to be more, my girlfriend has a 4-year-old and I'd never seen this much child rearing. And it's incredibly difficult. And I didn't really appreciate it. So I'm significantly less judgmental of my mom. And my dad, it's a bit like, really? But it's really hard.
It's hard. Yeah, there's nothing like raising children to kind of raise yourself up in terms of appreciation, in terms of lightening up on them.
Yeah,
there's
But
really
it also, for me, I just didn't think I should have children. I didn't think it was a good idea for me to procreate. I thought we should end it here. And when I saw her relationship with her kids, I was, to your point, it was like, oh, that's how it's done, right?
Yeah.
Because I didn't have it on the other end. So when I saw that it can actually be difficult and be demanding, but be full of love and compassion and care. And I was like, I'll do that kind of
Yeah.
parenting, you
Yeah.
know. And really, had I not experienced that for a few years, we would have never moved forward in having one be, of our own. But so I absolutely it fucks with you a bit. You know what I mean? Because it makes
I've apologized to my mom.
You got to go back there.
Yeah.
And experience it.
Yeah.
You know.
No, it is that weird sort of EMDR thing where you can have an experience with a kid of your own, or whatever, the way I'm doing it, and it's like it kind of rewrites.
It's beautiful.
The whole thing. It's really odd, like that. You can overwrite your own memories of like your own childhood in a weird way.
I remember the first time I heard my dad's voice come out of my mouth with him when I had like a 2 and a 4-year-old, and they were in the bathtub. I'll never forget. And I screamed at them. I screamed at them because they were, I don't know, doing
being
something.
2 and 4.
And being 2 and 4. And I was
also had their heads underwater.
Yeah, something like that. I was so appalled at my own inability to manage that, which I know is normal. I mean, I've lost my shit tons of times since then. But the actual sound that I heard was so familiar and so my dad. And I was just like, oh, I have the opportunity now. I'd had enough recovery at that point to realize this is an opportunity for me to not do that. To recognize that that's not who I want to be. And I have a choice now that I'm in recovery,
but
and
also,
I can change.
So not maybe compassion isn't the right word, but a perspective on that voice.
Right.
I have a pretty easy time getting empathy for my dad too, in that like
really?
he's born in 1930. He's one of 13. Bad. Like both of his parents are Irish immigrants. Very poor, the Depression. And then he gets married to my mom. I don't know, he's 23, 24. He's Catholic, so they can't use birth control. And then he just ends up having all these kids. But and it's like he's conflicted about wanting it, and he hates,
and
he had a really bad, and had a really bad childhood himself, and his parents tried to give him away. Let someone come and take him for a test drive.
We have too many. Yeah.
Like for adoption. So, and then they didn't take him. So like,
that's
that
brutal.
Can't be great.
No,
just one of those is awful.
Yeah.
So, tell me something else. Have you ever been married?
No. Nope.
And you want to tell us a little bit about your current love life?
She's excellent. She's a therapist. She's British. So she's really an authority, or at least sounds like one. But we're experimenting with a new thing of my whole adulthood have been saying, or not my whole adulthood, but within relationships, I've been saying like, there's a way we can do this where you give me no notes and I give you no notes. And I'm trying to, and it finally locked in about 3 weeks ago.
Wait a minute. What is that? What does that look
I
like?
don't think it is my job to tell you how to be, how to live, and nor is it your job to. There's a thing, and I've made jokes about it, where women say they're training their guy. I'm teaching him, and I'm like, I'm doing pretty good. Not looking for a tutor of any kind for a living. It's all about, what I find is people customize you to their preferences.
But a lot of times I think that's the initial picker. You've picked a fixer-upper in a weird way, and that fixer-upper has a part in that. That fixer-upper wants to be fixed.
I'm not taking any blame for this case. No, I've been really against it, whether I subconsciously chose it or went along with it as well. I've been very against it. And so in the last little while, we've been going with we're trying to figure out exactly, there are points where it's like, I think we do need to do it, some sort of note here, or some sort of adjustment. But I kind of feel like people should be treated like restaurants where you cannot make substitutions. Like, no, no, there's it. Do you want it or not?
Right.
I'm not, because By the way, it's very hard to grow. So to grow because someone else is forcing you to grow it's not a good format. Then it's like the military. And any growth I've had in life is because it was a thing I wanted to be, or a type of person I wanted to be, or a way I wanted to feel within myself.
Yeah,
So,
and as a result of your own struggle.
correct. So we're trying it, and it's going very well.
What do you talk about?
No. Ours is not that dynamic, but we do have a dynamic where, and maybe it's because we've been together 24 years or something, where Kurt will do something like in a public, because we know a lot about each other's social anxiety, and he will leave the social environment, and then he'll look at me and he'll say, "Was I okay?" Like,
Yeah.
in other words,
okay. I don't think that you can't use
If
each
you
other
ask.
for a sounding board. Yeah.
Right.
If I ask, please.
Right.
Right.
It's like giving unsolicited notes to somebody.
Oh yeah,
Right,
yeah,
right.
yeah.
I do it I used to do it all the time, and I finally was like, oh, don't do that.
Right.
I do it with my kids sometimes though, but I've learned how to say, "I have a suggestion. Would you like to hear it?"
And what do they?
A lot of times they don't
Yeah.
want to hear
Yeah.
it. They'll say, "No, Mom, I don't want to hear it." I'm like, "Okay, fine." But it used to be unsolicited advice.
Yeah.
Like, this is what I think.
Yeah.
And I probably do it with you. Have done it. I don't.
Yeah, absolutely. But we
I don't think it's especially. I think it's a thing people do,
yeah.
and I think
Oh, absolutely.
Oh,
Yeah, unconsciously.
yes,
Yeah.
It's corrosive.
yeah, it just becomes a thing where I feel like the way things are now, the last 20 years is like this thing where women are mad at their guy all the time, and the guy just is kind of walking around with this like flinching.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
And I'm sure you have a totally different experience, but it just seems like women are just chronically disappointed. Again, the women I've dated and all my friends, and every guy I've ever met. But yeah, it just seems like women are disappointed and men are like, all right, I don't know what did wrong or why.
I have to push back on this.
Please.
I totally have to push back on this
Great.
because I do believe that women are not as chronically disappointed as men are expecting them to be. And that may stem from a mother that was chronically disappointed with them. The reason I say it is sometimes
My
notice,
mother in particular was very Alan-Ani.
Right.
All the management manipulation.
Right.
part of them.
So
Yeah.
I will notice with Kurt, he will feel like I can have a certain look on my face or a certain tone of my voice, and he will feel like he's done something wrong.
Yeah.
And I will explain, no, the situation will remind him, this is what I'm imagining, of some old thing. And so I'm not walking around dissatisfied, but he will interpret my look, my tone as if I am. So I think that's the other side of that. I don't know that women are chronically disappointed.
I also think that the dynamic you're explaining is also this weird commercialized dynamic.
It's
right?
commercialized because it's I think part of it is like sold as feminism. Like you're supposed to be mad at your guy is this huge
it's weird.
disappointing member of the patriarchy.
Every sitcom, every
well,
book,
it's
every movie,
yes.
it's so much of it is, that setup, if you will, is the expectation or the joke or and unfortunately it's something that people absolutely do lean into,
Well,
because there's power in it.
yeah. And
There's power in disapproval.
Safety.
Yeah.
Too.
And it's just it's kind of boring, actually.
Oh, it's so boring.
And I think it's I had a thought. It's the feminist trope that, like I tell my girlfriends all the time, don't treat your husband like your girlfriend. They're just not your girlfriend. And, because I think some of that disappointment you're experiencing.
I do like when you treat me like
you do. Some of that disappointment I think you're experiencing is when women tend to love to vent and talk, and we process differently than men do. So that is the expectation that they're going to get from their partner. And I think that, for me, once I had a child, I loved men even more. Because I understood
what didn't you know if you remember?
Simplicity.
Yeah.
when you have a daughter, it's like having a lawyer in your life because we're all about the yeah buts. Yeah, but, explain it,
Yeah.
explain. These my daughters. With a boy, it was very easy to say to him, no, and he'd get it, or you'd have to say it loudly. But, it was just a simpler way of communicating that made me understand that men are not my girlfriends and fantastic and beautiful and much simpler than I was, sort of experiencing and I don't mean simple like stupid. I mean just like logical, more linear, more this is the thing.
Yeah. Somebody
Does
said
that make sense?
that a lot. Some women treat their husbands like disobedient women. And it's like,
100%.
yeah, it's like, I've even had to explain to Lucy, like, it'll be like what I read as a criticism and then about me, and then she'll be disappointed that I'm not empathizing with her. And I'm like, so you want me to take this criticism and my first instinct to be empathy? And I don't agree with you? I said to a girlfriend a long time ago, I was like, it feels like I'm going to a store and being accused of shoplifting, and you want me to empathize with the fact that you own a store that has a shoplifter, but I'm not the shoplifter. I'm pissed that you're falsely accusing me. That's where I am.
Right.
And this idea that I need to have this emotional dexterity.
Because the woman has jumped ahead.
Yes, this emotional dexterity that I don't know. I mean, I've said to her, like, you had to go to like therapy school to learn how to listen and be this empathetic. So this idea, I've said to her, like, complaining about me not being emotionally dexterous would be like me complaining that you can't bench press 350. Like, it's just not what the machine does.
Right.
So enjoy what the machine does. It's funny, makes a good living, incredibly handsome. And like, just the rest of it's going to be like, not the best, but like, let's look at the good stuff. And I'm not saying like,
100%.
screw you, I'm unassailable, but I am saying what I said to her was like, let's say I'm the 10% of me's crappy in some way. Fine. But the problem is we spend 70% of our time talking about that 10%.
Right.
Instead of like, how about some proportionality where it's like 90% like, this is great, I'm great, you're great. And 10, and occasionally 10. Yeah, I'd go even lower than 10% of the time talking about
right.
The shitty 10%. So it's just like we're trying it, and
sounds like it's working.
yeah, so far so good.
But also,
that's great.
I do think in general that, and obviously, it's intellect, obviously it's experience, but it's, you're a fairly evolved human being.
I've certainly tried stuff.
Yeah, but and what I get and the path that we're on it too, it's like that is important. Like we're seeking that out.
Yeah.
We're seeking out not so much how do I be a better person as much as how do I engage life in a way that is more meaningful and less destructive to myself and others.
Yeah.
A lot of people, and by a lot I mean most, for whatever reason, they don't have to because there's they're not living in conflict of any kind, or fuck it, that's too much work.
Yeah.
Right? And I think the majority of experience that all people have, whether you're man or woman, coming into a relationship is the latter, right? Are the people who don't care to
do the work.
So when I hear you say that, for me, what the power in that is saying to your partner, hey, this is who I am. This is what you can expect because I've done enough work to know what the percentages are.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And my guess is that there was a certain amount of acceptance to that awareness by Lucy.
By Lucy.
So I wanted to talk about another one of our sponsors. We have always been concerned in our lives with the purity of our water. Living in Los Angeles, I've always been told not to drink the tap water. I don't know if you live in a state where you can, like in Idaho, we can drink the tap water. But LA has always been very clear about that wasn't the best thing for you to do. Our new sponsor is a water purification system that sounds very simple. It requires no installation or plumbing, and it removes 15% more contaminants than ordinary pitcher filters, the ones that you put in the refrigerator. So that's a really good thing because we have a water purifying system, but it's a deal. It was a big deal putting it in.
Yeah, and we sort of made the effort to do less plastics and let go of, everything in a plastic bottle and put in, to use a water purification system. But since the fires and everything else, we've had to sort of up our game.
It's called AquaTrue. It sounds like a really uncomplicated way to get your water filtered, and you don't have to change the filter for 2 to 3 months. It just sounds like a really great system. Our pets are also part of our family, so they're getting purified water. Everybody's getting purified water.
Yes, and it comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee, and also makes a great gift for those loved ones who perhaps do not think of such things for their health.
Oh, that's a really good idea. It's always hard to find the gift for people that seem to have most things they would want. That's a great idea. Today, our listeners receive 20% off any AquaTrue purifier. All you do is go to AquaTrue, I'm going to spell it, AQUATRU.com, and enter the code PIE, P-I-E, at checkout for 20% off. Sounds great.
It's 20% off any AquaTrue water purifier when you go to aquatrue.com. Remember the promotional code PIE.
So what's the most unhealthy thing you've eaten lately, Kurt?
Pie.
Healthiest meal. Was it pie?
No, I guess, I don't know. We've been doing a lot of...
Our Thursday night dates.
Yeah, it's not meals as much as, some specific types of food.
We've been having a few fast food
Yeah,
dates.
we never eat fast food or fried food, but we have been on our date night just because it's fun.
And also we're humans, so we don't always eat the specified amount of, you're supposed to eat like 12 servings of vegetables and 10 servings of fruit. It's like an insane amount of greens and fruits that you're supposed to eat. I never get enough of that. Do you?
I never get enough of anything.
That is true. So this brings us to our new sponsor, which is called Field of Greens. It's a powder. You mix it in water. And I think what's unusual about it is it sounds like it's actual vegetables that are...
There's nothing else but veggies.
Right.
And the water rehydrates it. Also, Field of Greens is one of my favorite movies.
Oh, yeah, that was a good movie. I agree.
I think I used that joke last time, too.
Probably. So if you use the code PIE at fieldofgreens.com, you will get a discount of 20% on your first order.
That's PIE for your 20% discount on Field of Greens.
Yeah, I think that's part of the appeal of dating me,
Yeah,
or being with me. Like I think so. It's the idea that somehow we all need to train each other. It's like I'm on my own path.
Mm-hmm.
Everything I've wanted to be, it's because I saw it and was like, I aspire to that. If I got into conflict with whether it's friends, business partners, girlfriends, I didn't like it. And I was like, how do I avoid it in the future, but how do I manage it better? So it's the assumption that like I am approaching things with good intentions. Somebody said this the other night when she was talking about her and her husband, and she was like, it took me a long time to realize that my husband has something that my father didn't, which is good intentions.
Oh, that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
That's lovely.
Yeah. And so just the assumption, I do try.
Right.
The problem is it's really hard.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to get, this is a question for both of you. What's the most you've ever seen someone change in their life, like a percentage?
I'm just going to say my personal experience with my husband, I have actually seen him change a lot.
Yeah.
I would say that. I think at the core, there's still that kind of...
He may not want to do the right thing, but he's going to do the right thing.
Well, no, he has I've seen a big shift from, not that core, deep child, angry kid, that guy is in there. But it's through behavior. I have seen
Right.
the change. It's like going against, like, here's a perfect example. The other night, he's looking at me like, uh-oh, what's she going to say? The other night, sometimes Kurt teases me and it's funny. So the other night he was teasing me about something. I don't even know what it was, but it felt mean to me. I felt like, oh, ouch. And I was really able to say to him, honey, that feels mean. And he knew he wasn't trying to be mean.
Yeah.
But sometimes how things just go a little too far. And I was like, ow, that kind of hurts. He took responsibility for it. He saw it. He didn't defend against it.
Would he have
didn't
defended earlier?
Yeah,
or in your life?
There was a time in his life when it would have been, oh, lighten up.
Yeah.
You don't get the joke, but something like that. But this was a very sincere look at me and an awareness that, oh, my intention may have been to be funny, but maybe you're right. Maybe I am being a little bit
The
mean.
awareness too was that being in a place where, as you described, where I have the thought and then I have that window of time before it's followed by the behavior, right?
Yeah.
So when
I
she
think
said,
it's called, I think what you're talking about is Buddhism.
no, I think it's
pause, as we call
called humanity.
Yeah, well, that's a humanity, a more evolved humanity, where you're trying to get, increase the distance.
But I saw when she said that, I felt the response of,
Fuck that.
yeah.
Nobody tells Kurt what to.
Yeah,
I think I'm pretty good at creative stuff.
There's something I need to say here.
Yeah.
But when she said that, and I realized, oh, what I said was really not about her, right? That whatever the line crossing came from,
Self-loathing.
So either self-loathing or something, or was connected to something, and it absolutely was not in the spirit of how it began, perhaps.
Right.
And and I know how super sensitive I am, and had it been reversed,
He'd be crying.
I'd be fucking in the closet crying, right? So so I had the awareness of like, and the fact that she can stop and say, hey, this is what I'm seeing, rather than, either avoiding it,
right.
being quiet.
That's what I would have done.
Passively. Like,
Yeah.
it's so easy to be passive.
You would have done that because that's what you've always done, or you would have done that because it would have been the best for the relationship?
I grew up with a critical father.
Right.
So there was a lot of, I'm just kidding, but I'm not really kidding.
Yeah.
But
So brutal.
I've learned very well how to sort of almost disassociate from that kind of critique or whatever whatever it is. So that's what I would have done, and not confronted.
How
it.
long have you been able to say, hey, that hurt my feelings?
Not that long. Not that long. It's a little bit of a new behavior.
I know.
To
Can you believe how fucking long this takes?
Unbelievable.
And I also think anybody that says lighten up is basically saying, shut up, let me be an asshole.
Yeah. I don't want to deal with the fact that I was being absolutely passive aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And it's funny when you talked about, like, you realized that it wasn't in the spirit of, it's a bit like the writing thing where you're like, oh, well, that's about me and my dad.
Right.
The spirit is actually a hostility that I've been carrying for 2 weeks about something that happened in the parking lot.
Yeah. Oh, of course.
That I didn't mention. And yeah. That will be like, I mean, with our no notes strategy. I think it is legitimately like, you can say, hey, that hurt. I think I have a legitimate thing here with, I just want you to know that hurt my feelings.
And I do love the fact that because of the business we're in, we had just automatically on the idea of notes are always bad.
Couldn't be good.
No good notes.
Yeah.
Man.
I kind of love the no notes concept. I think that's great. You know what I think, where I think people make a mistake with some of that is they make their relationship their whole life. It's like,
well, that thing you said about not treating your partner like a
girlfriend.
woman, I literally said that to her. I was like, you need to complain about me to other women.
Exactly.
I'm like, do it. I don't give a shit.
I'm
As
in
long
the
as I don't
room.
hear it, I don't. knock yourself out legitimately. Like, go do it until you don't want to do it, until you're sick of yourself.
It's so true, which comes to a whole other thing, which I think is interesting. I would like to ask you this question. I find it difficult to make friends older in life. It's getting a little bit easier since I've sort of done it with intention. Like I want to have more friends, but because I'm basically kind of a loner, so it didn't really occur to me. But do you find that?
I find it. Well, I find it. I had this thought the other day that because as a comedian, I'm extremely judgmental about people's conversation skills.
Oh,
Because my entire existence is coming up with interesting things to say to people. So when other people don't make an effort, I'm like, you know what? This fucking guy is, and it's like, Neal, that's not what people are doing. They're just, if you see it as just a bid for connection, then you can be. And I've also been writing in my gratitude checklist journal,
nice.
which I do several times a day. That what people want me to be is nice. They don't want me to be funny. They don't want me to be quick-witted. They don't want me. I mean, they do like on podcasts and on stage, but like anyone wants anyone to be as nice. More than it's so I have to remind myself of that. Like, no,
My responsibility
yes,
here. Yeah.
no.
In other words, don't. That's such an interesting thing because your question about lore and what people expect you to be.
Yeah.
Like people, I would imagine, and I would ask you the question when do you want to ask this question? It's
Well, no,
usually
yeah.
When you walk into a room and it's people that know you as the comedian Neal, do you find that they have an expectation of you to be a certain way? And do you live up to that trope?
Do you lean
or
into
do
it?
you do you
I did. Well, it just happened with
back
your
against
assistant,
it?
where I could tell he knew who you can just tell. You can tell when somebody knows who you are. So it's like, so I wasn't being like bitty,
right?
but my first instinct was to be a little more like my comedy voice.
Sure.
Yeah. And then I was like, be nice. Like, I had to like tell myself, also you put more nice in this. And even when I'm optimized for nice, it's still all the garbage is seeping in.
Right.
I would imagine as a comedian, that has got to be so challenging to not sort of walk into, if you have any, well, here we go, social anxiety at all, you kind of walk in with that persona that is safe, that people will respond to certain, you know what I mean?
Well, in some ways it's nice. It's the thing, like you automatically get like passed to and if it were American Idol, you automatically get to the Hollywood round.
Right. You go.
Like you're way more recognizable than I am. So people give you some benefit of some doubt. I'm sure there's also a downside to it and people think you're better than them and all that stuff. But like, so there's more advantage than disadvantage, meaning like
to coming in as your
because then I can I just want people to know I'm kidding because my face would tell you I'm not.
Right.
My face is so serious that people are like, is this guy, what's with this guy? But if you know that like I'm funny, then you kind of are more attuned to like hearing things that way.
Right.
I think, ideally.
It's kind of like remember when your friend Steve-O came over?
Mm-hmm.
So, Steve-O,
Yeah.
that guy. So I was
You
expecting
kept waiting for him to jump through the window.
to do something.
Yeah.
And he was the quietest,
Yeah.
kindest,
Steve is so
sat on the
chill
sofa, didn't say, barely
super
spoke,
polite.
Yeah.
so kind.
Yes.
And I remember thinking like, wow, this is not
He's
at
not
all
wacky at all.
what
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
expected.
Yeah.
At all.
Yeah.
And that was kind of interesting that I guess it's because he knew you guys and he felt comfortable with you guys. So
Right.
I don't know what he's like when it's like
He's
a bunch of
brutally
people you
shy.
don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had I just was complaining to the Marriott Bonvoy, the Marriott Rewards program. And like the guy emailed me, I complained and then somebody followed up and I gave a long complaint. And then the guy basically responded kind of and said reference to like, I know who you are. And I was kind of like, I wasn't funny. Like
Right.
I not like I was, but it's like now I just
This
seem like
isn't
a
a joke.
crank.
I'm still, yeah.
Now it's like, do I just seem like a rich crank?
Right.
Or yeah, so there is I just don't really think about it that much. It's the truth. Like I think there's way more advantage than disadvantage.
I think it's very specific for a comedian though, because there is a sense of there is your job is funny.
Right.
So, it's not connected to it's not connected to reputation or behavior. It's more connected to skill set, if you will. And then you can choose, like you just said with my assistant, who will say, he was nice, but he wasn't that funny.
Fine.
You know what I mean? Like
Better
you can
compliment.
choose.
Nice.
Yeah.
I find if I walk, and it's obviously not in public, but in the business dynamic, we're
doing
Yeah.
work.
we
out
have
there.
Yeah.
mudslide. In the business dynamic, there is a certain expectation of me to be a bit bombastic, perhaps.
Right.
And there would be times when I would lean into that because I knew there was an expectation. But for the most part, I'm fairly not that individual under normal circumstances. And I just find that it's a challenge. It's like a personal challenge sometimes to navigate that preconceived notion.
Well, yeah. I guess the question was about friends, making friends.
Right.
Mhm.
And I think what's the requisite? What I'm finding is the requisite for friendship, what my requirements are for a long time, it was like talent
Mm.
and
Success.
funny. Yeah, success, interesting, unique thinker, unique thinks, unique thoughts, right? Original thought. What I've come to realize is like the Venn diagram of those skills and good friend it's a pretty
Yeah.
small overlap. Meaning like and then other real virtues of friendship, loyalty, kindness,
Mhm.
Love.
love, availability. And so I do have a different list, and it's hard.
Yeah.
It's just hard to manage both because I am not like I am very judgmental, but it's like I want to have an interesting conversation.
Mhm.
And if it's small talky, it's just kind of like,
Yeah, but I think it's also what you're saying. What I hear you saying is it's indicative of one's own personal growth
right.
in terms of who you're going to bond with or feel safe with or whatever that is. And I think if it's based on niceness, which
Yeah.
I think that's lovely. I think that is really not that they have to be your best friend, but it's
Yeah.
somebody that, you could go out to lunch with and,
Yeah.
and I don't know. I think it changes as we change. Like I remember being younger and I was very impressed by people that were successful and people that were, always talent. Talent is always very, I'm
Right.
just so,
But it doesn't make them good friends. It
no,
just
it
makes
doesn't
them
make
good
them
at
good
that
friends.
thing.
It just makes them like, wow, you're so,
And it hurts your feelings when they're not. More to me, it hurt my feelings when it turned out these talented people were not good friends because I take it personally.
Oh,
Right.
see, maybe
Of
that's
course.
the difference as we get older and we get a little bit more like I wonder if you would still take that personal.
Well, it's
Or would you have that a friend?
It's just the hardware store to get oranges.
Yeah,
You know what I
yeah.
mean? It's just like,
Exactly.
well, what did you think? It's kind of
That's
what I
what they
argue with Lucy. It's like, what is the machine isn't quick to empathy. It's quick to defense.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
It's like not optimized for empathy. It's so seeing people for what they probably are and then making a informed decision about whether I would pursue a friendship with them.
Mm.
But it is weird to pursue a friendship when you're old.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it really is.
Yeah.
Do you think people change? Which was the question you asked
Yes.
us.
Yeah, but you got to go to a meeting every day. That's how hard it is. You have to constantly go to like
I agree.
the factory settings
Mhm.
are not
They argue for limitations.
Yes.
That's what the factory setting does.
Yes.
It argues for your limitations.
yes,
Mhm.
yes, well said. Like it so I think people can, but it takes a lot. It takes constant maintenance.
Mhm.
Right.
So, and I think you can get to 10 to 15%
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
I mean, I think you can like drink to not drink is a huge change. Or drugs to not drugs or whatever to not. So I don't want to understate it.
No,
I just think
absolutely.
it's just takes, I would say without that, how much can a person change? Without going to meetings every day,
Right.
with just going to therapy, how much can someone change?
I don't think a lot.
I think probably under 10%.
Yeah, I agree. Because I think that that concept of community, of hearing other people, of learning through them,
Yes.
and having the humility to say, "Oh, I didn't know that. Now I do. Thank you
Yeah.
for teaching me that." I think that is really that's how we grow and change. It's a willingness to grow and change.
I
Yeah.
also think therapy too is that outside help is absolutely potent and very useful, but there is a component of it that's think more, right?
Think your way out of thinking, which is like
think about thinking.
Yeah.
And where the meeting a day is about the thought or the feeling about the feeling equals obsession,
Yeah.
right? And then that's the thing that buries you, right? So it's
how do you get out of obsession?
in a very a meeting a day,
Yeah.
and also what we were talking about earlier, like it begins with the awareness, because if I do enough work to be aware, then I have the awareness of the feeling, and my next thought or my next behavior is to act on that feeling. And with the awareness, even if I act on it, I'll get uncomfortable enough to where I'm willing to go, all right, I'll try something else. But if I don't have the awareness,
Yeah.
then I cannot ever make the change. So about obsession, I will feel myself going down the hole, and I will out loud often say, fuck, new thought.
Yeah.
I mean, I literally have to physically turn the
I'm
car
with you.
around.
Yeah.
And, but if you do it enough, it's a muscle that becomes more innate. I don't know if it'll ever be my default,
Yeah.
but it is why I have just enough fear, because I don't want to go back to that place to keep my ass in a meeting every day. Because I have just enough fear to go, if I don't do that, I don't want to feel that way anymore, But it's all, like you said, it's lifting weights, man,
How do you get out? Are you an
Out of
obsessor?
oh yeah, I'm definitely an overthinker is what I would say. For me, what I do a lot is I guess is service. I'll talk to somebody else about what they're going through. And is it altruistic in a way, but it's also selfish. It's like, for me, I because we're in a recovery process, so I meet a lot of people that don't, have questions about the recovery process. So I will jump into that a lot of times to get myself out of me. It was like, I can, because my obsessive thoughts are usually about like, what am I going to lose? What am I going to get? What do they think of me? How far am I going to, it's about me. And, that is the tool I use is to really, I don't go to a meeting every day. I go to a lot of meetings, but I don't go every day. But, I have people that I'll call and just say, how are you doing? And that seems to stop the train.
What's the paradox?
How about you? How do you get out of it?
I don't.
You're doing it
and
right
I never
now.
will. Journaling has been helping a lot, and exercise.
Mm.
It's
Oh.
I running, just jogging on a treadmill. I used to think I just couldn't run far, and then I realized it was just an attention span issue. And I would just tell myself I got to wrap this up. So now I can run 10 miles.
Wow.
Once I decided, half the time I'm going, Neal, no experience is going to be better than the one you're in all the time. Unless you're in physical pain, how you interpret the experience is entirely up to you. So this is no better than getting a massage or playing a video game or eating or whatever. It's all about your interpretation. So just just do this because it's good for you. And I notice like I will be obsessing, and then I'll run for about 45 minutes to an hour. And it happened the other day. I was obsessing about something, and then my next thought was, boy, Neal's really obsessing today. And I was like, oh, good.
Yeah.
I'm past I like broke it. I broke the obsession through physical exercise,
Right,
which
right.
your body is
Yeah.
set up to do.
Which I think is
Endorphins
like
and-
a form of meditation.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Because meditation is about observing the thought.
Yes.
Like that
Yes.
just happened to you.
Yeah.
Like, oh,
And just like,
there
I
you
was
are.
able to, great. A little Buddhism. Thank you.
yeah,
Like this, I can, this will help.
right.
And then, and then I have to keep doing it.
I know.
But I find that I have friends that deal with that. A great way to deal with stress is just to exercise to the point of like it's not eating disorder territory, but it's like just doing it to the point where you're so conked from it that you can't, all you can do is worry about your physical being in that moment.
Yeah.
Right.
It's so much more for me anyhow. Exercise is so much more for my head than my body.
Yeah.
Just-
But that's what I literally write in my journal: more body, less brain.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like just more God, less Neal.
More God, less Neal. That is the truth. Especially like I find, I was just talking to somebody about it this morning, because I'm feeling in my own life, I'm a bit in the hallway. Like this one's closed and I'm not sure what the fuck's going to happen next.
I'm in a similar position.
Right. So in the hallway, and it can be extremely uncomfortable and
I'll
extremely.
tell you what I've also written: trust the path.
Trust the path.
The path has never. I've thought the path was fucking me in the
Right.
short term,
Mhm.
and in the long term, it never has.
Mm.
And then my concept is also at that point, I have to have a bigger God, as if you will,
Mhm.
because my faith has to just override it, because I don't know what's behind that door. I do know there's a door.
Yeah.
That's experiential, I think. I
Well,
think that.
all right. I have a philosophical challenge for you. What if there isn't one?
What if there isn't a door?
Yeah.
Well, then maybe that's the door. That there
Right.
isn't
What,
a door.
maybe you're just
Oh God, don't say that, Neal. You mean like I'm stuck in the fucking hallway?
no.
I don't-
Katie, you're not stuck anywhere. You
That's
are.
true.
You're not.
There is no hallway.
So every job was the salvation until the next one. I mean, that again, I've subscribed to the exact same system. So I'm talking to myself as much as I'm talking to you.
My very adolescent self would say, yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. And then my more sort of maturing Buddhism, as you would self, says that I am exactly where I'm supposed to be, and that might be the door.
There's
Is-
Ram Dass has a saying which is like, it's like jumping out of a plane and you're flying through the air, but there's no ground. And you're
Okay.
like, okay, so I'm just in it, huh?
Mm.
So
Wow.
there's no, I don't have, so I just
There's no
have
landing, in other
yeah.
words.
There's no landing, but there's no crashing. There's no, you know what I mean? There's
Oh,
no,
man.
There's no
I
parachute.
literally, my stomach just went into I just had that visceral
She doesn't like heights.
yeah,
pit if my
Yeah.
stomach was like, wow, there's no ground.
yeah. There's no parachute and there's no ground.
Oh, see, I just got a physical response to that. That's wild. No,
Oh.
I think I still am holding on. Maybe I'm working through it. I still believe, what is that line in The Brutalist? It's not the journey, it's the destination. I don't know
Uh-huh.
if you saw The Brutalist.
I did.
But that's the line at the end. And I guess there is some part of me that feels that there is a destination that will then,
I know.
you know what I mean?
How could you not?
Right. But I do, that was a very good woof.
Yeah. You also, for me, because I always, that was my whole thing. I'm in the hallway. I'm in the, and I don't think it is a hallway.
What do you think it is?
Well, because for me, the hallway
It's
was just sad. It was dark.
Well, yeah, it's bereft.
It's
no
yeah,
one
it's-
cares
no
about
one
you. No
cares,
one's
you're all
watching. No
alone,
one like what.
you got to
and
blow
it's
up
goes
that
on
energy.
forever.
aren't you
Right.
there?
Yeah.
Aren't you there?
yeah.
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 Again, I say this in the same hallway,
Yeah.
and they say like, don't retire from something, retire to something. It's like the same thing of like, I need to have, it's how directed do our lives need to be?
Right.
Meaning, do I have to do
Ugh.
another thing I've written in my journal, which is like, I don't have to, as God, as a little sliver of God, I don't have to do anything to be
Loved and okay.
yeah, to be
Yeah.
worthwhile. It's like I don't have to do anything because it's not even like expressing my talent. It's just like, or I could just. What if I was okay? What if I didn't do anything?
Right.
What about this question though? What if, like, because my kids were asking me this, I was talking to Sarah's boyfriend about dreams and desire. And, I know for me, my work life is something I really desire because I very much enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think I need to be any more, well, I know I don't need to be any more famous. That's fine. But the actual process of doing a job is something that I still derive a lot of pleasure from.
Yeah.
So I do, and I'm not quite sure what am I waiting for another door to open because I love the desire of, I'm just saying in the work world, the desire of
that inspires as much desire as the job does.
Right.
A new thing.
A new thing. Yes, exactly. I think that coexists. Like two things can be the same. Happen at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
That coexists with that idea that I'm okay no matter what height.
Yeah.
Just me being a little sliver of God is enough.
I think that
I
desire
don't know
that
if
was
I'm saying by making sense.
no,
Yeah.
I equate it
No,
to
of course I'm yeah.
that desire being instinct is God given. It's and then it's the fear and the other stuff that then compounds it with obsession, where then that instinct maybe doesn't serve us and it becomes something
Oh yeah.
less
I hear
useful.
what you're saying.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
So that the thing itself is fine. It's just when we attach all these other things to it,
Exactly.
then it becomes something that doesn't serve us.
Right.
It's
It's just like making your relationship your whole life.
right.
Yeah, but the way it's set up, it's so set up to people always say like, don't take the rejection personally, but take the approval personally.
Exactly.
It's like, well, how am I going to take the approval and not like it? So we all take it all so personally, and it is all a referendum on your worth.
Right.
All of it's a referendum. It's all the show. Whatever if you book something, it's all, are you good or not?
Right.
And it is a hard area to exist in.
Absolutely.
It's like I think it's very trying on the human spirit. But so when you're looking for a replacement, it's like, boy, fucking, I hope it's better than this one.
Well,
And I don't say that judgmental. I just say it as like, I longing for like a thing where it's not my entire being on trial.
Well, it's interesting. I was also talking to somebody this morning who was talking about the arts, and it's always been a competitive sport. The arts have always been somewhat, I would say theatrically. It's always, like they used to have festivals where people were like, you get the prize, you win the thing, you got and now it's sort of, it's kind of built into the thing we do is competition.
Yeah, that's somebody I saw on the internet where somebody said something about it's a shame that they made dancing or painting or whatever a thing you could be good at, so that people don't. It's not even that enjoyable anymore. It just becomes a competition.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No matter what. It's not just I dance because it feels good or I paint because it feels good. It's like I paint because I have talent. Let me measure it against yours, and then it becomes a judgment thing. It always has.
It always has been.
But I love doing this to people that move out here to be actors, and they go, I want to be an actor, and I go, oh, well, just get a script and do a play in your room with your friend. If you're there, if you're in it for just the art, the art of it,
right?
Go be the character in it. You're not in it. I'm not. Nor shouldn't expect you to. But stop lying and pretending you are.
Right. But then I would say if you're a musician, you can sit in your room, play your guitar, write a song, sing a song, and be kind of happy.
Well, yeah, but then maybe someone goes, "Why don't you put it on YouTube?" And then And then you're that's why like sometimes I'm like I should make a documentary about and then I'm like I don't want to I
don't
know
wanna
what I'm going to do.
monetize it.
I know what I'm going to do.
I
I
know.
know I'm going to turn it into refresh and how many hits and why did this one do well? I will ruin it.
This is why knitting is my new favorite thing. I have no end game other than to give my child a warm, cozy cashmere blanket.
That you will compare against her other
No,
cashmere.
I won't compare it. No, I find it very, like, you know how in one of our rooms they say have recreation and hobbies. I think that's what it's about. I think that's about doing something solely for the sake of doing it.
And you're
for no
committed.
purpose,
no monetary,
which is so hard
it is
because
so hard.
everything's so
Well, and people put that on, like right now I have this other love project I'm doing where I'm putting together a choir. So I'm just putting it together. I don't know what it's going to be for. And everybody asks me like even my kid, Jackson was like, well, you should book a gig. What are you going to do with it? What's going to happen? I was like, you know what? I don't know. I love to sing and I love to sing with other people. So I'm going to do the legwork and put it together. And I don't know, maybe I'm going to lose money. Maybe it's not going to monetize into anything.
No. And
right?
then by the way, what were you going to do with the money, Katey? What were you,
pay myself back.
how are things going to change in your day-to-day life?
Right.
With this, whatever money you were going to make,
Right.
Let's say it's $40 or $3 million.
Right.
What's going to change? Let me answer that question. Nothing.
Right.
Now, what do you ever write for no purpose?
You mean just like
I don't
when
know.
I do,
Because I think of because I go, well, could I ever do comedy for no? Comedy's so audience driven, like it has to inspire a laugh.
No, here's what I think. I think that I truly believe that I'm a storyteller. I say when people ask me what I do, before I say writer, I'm a storyteller, and I believe that is why I'm here.
Mm-hmm.
And to be a storyteller, you do need the tribe to sit in the circle and listen to the
focus
story.
Yeah.
So the joy isn't about just for no reason. The joy comes from, let me share this story with you.
Mm-hmm.
So, and yes, I could go to a library and put a group of chairs in a circle and tell a story. And I'm not going to do that, but I could. So it manifests into the thing, right?
Yeah.
Here's a story for this thing. And and you do. It's very easy to get caught up. I'm very lucky in that it's very difficult for me to write what other people want me to write. I've never written from another IP. I just cannot do that. If it doesn't come out of here in some capacity, that's where I get the joy.
Yeah.
That's like look at this crazy fucking world. And I've been lucky enough that those are the stories I've been able to tell and sometimes not tell. And but that is where the joy comes from. The joy comes from being up there in that space and talking to myself and writing shit on the board and finding interesting ways to explore that story and tell that story. And if I look at, will this be a success? What will this be? Then I'm fucked because then I'm editing, right? Am I doing it with some intention to that for that to be something that ultimately happens? Yes, but I can't write from that place. I can't tell the story from that place or I'm fucked.
Yeah. Well, it's similar to comedy that way.
I think so.
I would think so. You have to be unresult oriented. You can't.
Well, I know, but you also have to be entirely result.
Right. That's right. As
Like,
I
that's
said it, it was like, no, that's
yeah,
not
like
true.
you
paradox,
can't.
yeah.
You have to want to say something and then be entirely, because if it's not funny, then it's not comedy. Then it's just some words, some words you
It's
said
therapy.
in a row.
Yeah.
There is an inherent trap to it.
Right.
Like the.
Oh, yeah.
I guess the trap is I'm only worthwhile if I succeed at comedy or if you book something or if you write and it's getting away from that.
which it gets easier, I think. I think if you have that conscious awareness, which I don't know how you don't have it the older we get. I just don't. I don't
I
know.
also think there's something to be said for like, you did it.
Right.
Like I did it. I
Right.
did it.
Right.
Like I'm
Right.
done,
We've all done
but
it.
I definitely like,
Yes. You got in the pool.
Yeah. The more I've done it, the more I'm like the negative thoughts just don't have credibility. Like, what are you talking about,
You don't
dude?
have to
Like,
prove
I
yourself.
did it. I should. You're lying if you said I'm not good or funny. It's like,
Right.
or talented or
Right. You're wrong.
yeah. It's like that's just incorrect.
Yeah.
But
so yes.
yeah.
Coming from that place, I think, because I don't know that a lot of people in their lives feel like they did it. I think the majority of people, you
Well,
know.
And by the way, a lot of people that did it don't think they did it.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
what I was saying.
that's true.
It's hard to have that perspective sometimes and look back and go, I did it.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? I don't think
guess.
it.
I don't have, I mean, I don't want, like I just said, I'm as famous as I need to be. I don't really need to be any more famous. I just like what I do.
Yeah.
So it comes from a different place. Whereas, you know, when you're younger, you're just trying to make your mark.
Right,
man.
but it's liking what you do. But the problem is they make it so hard to do
Right.
for you
That's true.
that it feels like judgment. So it's like I
That's
think
right.
that ideally we'd all like what we do, and if we get to do it again, cool. And if we don't, it's not going to affect how I feel about myself.
Absolutely.
But
That's
That's the
trick.
goal.
Yeah.
very challenging.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. God, this is such a heavy conversation.
Jesus.
This is great, Neal. This has been fantastic.
And I just will say that what I am enjoying about this is last time you were here without microphones, we pretty much had the same conversation.
Yeah,
Which
because that's
is-
all that's
is
what I'm
beautiful.
thinking
Yeah.
about.
All right. So this is where the segment where
Thanks, bro.
we ask our guests to pick their favorite pie and then to tell us why it's their favorite.
Is this? Well, I've already picked it though,
Yeah.
Apple.
and you bought it.
Yeah, we bought it.
I'm vegan, but not for dessert.
Ooh, this looks good.
I'm not going to eat too much because I'm going on a trip with my girlfriend, and I want to eat like a monster while we're on it.
I got you. I thought you were going to say, and I have to wear a bathing suit.
I mean, I don't have to. I want to.
What's the
We're
deal
going
with the
to
app?
Tokyo.
Oh, you
Oh,
are?
yeah.
Ah,
Yeah.
You just talked about that.
so
Yeah.
Yeah.
envious.
So,
Just pleasure.
yeah.
Fun.
Yeah, Kirk, can you believe it? What did I just tell you? It's all pleasure.
From here on out, man.
Yeah.
Why is this your favorite pie?
Apple is my favorite pie because cherry obviously is like the most famous pie, I would say, or one of the more famous pies. I don't know where cherries are from and what their seasons are. And like, do they grow on a vine? Like, I just don't know enough. I know cherry tree, but you don't see many cherry
I've
trees.
never seen a cherry tree.
Yeah. See what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do.
Oh, that's interesting.
So it's like apples are, I know what that, like I can picture the process to get it to me. And
Your deep mistrust of fruit.
yeah. Mike Schur, writer, he thinks pie is gross because why am I eating hot fruit? Which is such a good observation.
Hot fruit is pretty good, though. We went to the apple pan the other night. It was
Yeah.
killer.
So I understand apple and I like the cinnamon aspect and the crust and
No childhood sort of attachment to an
not
apple
that I can
pie
think of. No, I wasn't molested by pie or anything.
while eating
The pie man. But this is also the segment where you can, if you want, talk about anything you have coming up or anything like
I
professional.
think it would be best
to not.
because
All right.
it would be within the spirit of what I've said. I have a podcast. Katie's coming on. Katey recorded. It'll be out in the next couple weeks. Called Blocks, based on my Netflix, and is people tell me their blocks, and
that was a tough one, Neal. I think
You
the
were
first
great.
question you answered, you asked me this first question. I was like,
what makes you feel like something's wrong with you?
yeah, what
That's
makes you feel
that's
like
the
something's
premise.
wrong with
Yeah.
you? I was just like, oh man, that is
Yeah.
a deep question.
It's a heavy podcast, but it's also funny as fuck. too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, so I'm doing that, and then I'll do another hour of stand up, and probably I'm taking my time
Mhm.
writing
So
it.
does that process, do you do the thing where you just work out material and
Just at the Comedy
the
Store.
thing
just,
and the thing and the
yeah,
thing?
15 minutes at a time.
Wow.
And then it'll coalesce into an hour, and then this is probably people's favorite part of the show, where people are eating into a microphone, eating soft food into a microphone.
Hot fruit.
Yeah, exactly. And then I kind of see, like, to your point of like, what am I saying with this material?
Mhm.
And then you put segues and put structure around it. Yeah, but And done 5 hours, so it's a bit like this is the 6th hour, and it's just like,
Wait a minute, you've done 5 comedy
yeah.
specials?
Well, I did 3.5 hours on Netflix, and then an hour and a half on Comedy Central. So I've done 5 hours, and then it's I feel like you only get so many good hours in your life. So meaning, like, just looking at other comedians, like, some of their hours are great and some are just shitty. So I don't think I can get away with a shitty one. So I'm just gonna take as long as I need to make it good.
Are you looking forward to it?
Yeah,
Is it something
I
you wanna
did
do?
spots. I'm doing a spot tomorrow. I did a spot last night. Like, it's great. It's so fun. It's fun to be good at something.
Right.
Like what the machine is calibrated for.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's fun to be able to do something I started doing stand-up 18 years ago, and to, like, be like, oh, I'm very competent at this. Like, even when I struggle, it's not. It's like it's a more comfortable, or it's a more familiar struggle, instead of like, what's happening?
Right.
I feel like there's some reward in the time spent. Like, it's palpable. Instead of just the result, it's like, I know what it is, and it's fun. It's fun to be good at something.
Okay.
So
Pressure's on. It better be good.
well, yeah, no, I know. I don't want it. It's like I also am not like a naturally charismatic performer, so, like, the jokes have to be good. I
Right.
can't just, like, go up there and, like, feel my essence. Like, it has to be like, the jokes have to be good. So
Oh, awesome.
There's an erudite quality to what you do too that requires thought. You know what I mean?
yeah, I know it's weird. The audience expects it to the point where I'm like, yeah, it used to happen on Chappelle's show where we do a sketch and it would bomb, and I'd look at Dave and be like, this would work on any other show. The fact they just had this weird standard for us, like, no, we're not going to accept this from you.
Right.
Like, you guys we know you've already proven yourselves too good.
You can't do this.
We cannot laugh at this.
Yeah.
Like, this is beneath you. And it was like, fuck.
Yeah.
The same people made it, but it's just like,
you must continue to break ground.
We saw the blind white supremacists. So you fucked yourselves. You open with that. So now everything has to be somewhere near as good as that, which it wasn't. But, like, occasionally we get close.
Right. But it also drives you to want to do that and push and, you know, and because I think,
I'm sure it's the standard has to be yours.
Yeah. Like,
It's not like you could do a shitty job performing and people wouldn't really know, but they might, but they might not.
Right. Oh, no. It's the classic underachiever thing.
But I also know showrunners that'll be like, yeah, it's good enough. And I just don't have enough confidence to do, I think it's good enough.
Yeah.
If I don't think it's fucking amazing, I can't give it to you.
It still might not be.
Oh, exactly.
But
absolutely. But
you
I
have to think it is.
Yeah.
And you have to have really tried.
And a lot of people don't understand that.
Well, I think it's different as an actor sometimes, because sometimes, first of all, you're at the mercy of the editor. So you're like, you can you can think, oh man, I did my really best thing. But the truth is, as an actor, if you trust your director, Kurt has done this with me, where he's been like, oh, I'll say that was, so I really hit it and blah, blah, blah. And he'll be like, no, but less would be more. And he'll be right. And so it's as an actor, you can't.
Have you had a thing in editing? Did you ever allow her to go to editing?
No.
Because I was going to say, you might think Take 3 was great. And everyone's like, no.
But it's also, I look at the bigger picture.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And what's the best way to tell the story?
Right.
Rather than, what's, in 90% of that time, 9% of the time, it is the best performance. Sometimes it's not.
Yeah. But as an actor, I guess what I'm saying is, like, we also strive to do the best, but sometimes our interpretation of what's the best is is actually not. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Is
Well,
actually
it's the ones that feel good.
feels
I had an
like it is.
actor try to get me to use a take where he yawned because he'd never yawned on camera before. I was like, it's not a good take. It takes forever. But he's like, come on, man, I never yawn. I was like, dude, we're just not thinking of this in the same way. Like, if that's your concern of like, you want a thing, I'm telling it, we got to keep it moving. But yeah, it is funny of like what someone wants. And it's like,
Right.
you think that's what the audience wants?
Right.
To see you yawn?
And I will say the opposite happens too, where you have people that, and through some kind and, and good editing,
Looks pretty good.
they shine.
Yeah. Well, that's it. Yeah, that's as you doing your job.
Right.
It was great to be here.
That's so good to have you
Yeah.
here.
Yes.
It was
Yeah.
a
We
great
love
conversation.
you. Thank you for taking the time.
Yep.
And let's do this again without microphones.
Fine. Fine. But we'll still do ad reads though, right?
We will,
Great.
absolutely.
Fantastic.